Your Creative Push just celebrated its 1-year anniversary. To help the show going into its 2nd year, you can fill out a brief survey by going to yourcreativepush.com/survey. It'll only take 5 minutes, and your opinions and comments will help to make the show better serve you moving forward. Again, that's yourcreativepush.com/survey, and thank you so much for your time. Your Creative Push, episode 190.
Don't worry about what the outcome is going to be. Worry about the process. Worry about all the little avenues to get you to doing it.
Welcome to Your Creative Push, the podcast that pushes you to pursue your creative passions. I'm your host, Youngman Brown, and my guest today is Courtney Brooke Hall. Courtney is a photographer and conceptual artist who explores the ties of the feminine to nature and spirituality through the lens of nostalgia. Her works focus on the concrete questions that grapple with our existence, and by emphasizing aesthetics, she creates work through the labor-intensive processes as a personal exorcism ritual. And Courtney, thank you first of all for coming on the show. I was wondering if you could get into that a little bit more about the idea of kind of a personal exorcism. I love that.
I've always felt like I needed to be creating something. I have all these ideas, these personas, these concepts floating around in my head. And for a long time in my life, I didn't have a way to articulate them. And I felt like when they were almost like hibernating inside me, they became almost toxic. They were a conversation I needed to have, but couldn't articulate. I didn't have the words for it. So when I am creating an image, it's like I'm exercising out of myself all of that toxic energy. It's creating is therapeutic for me. I don't have any other real reason to do it other than it's a release. I have these things floating in my brain, and that is the only way I know how to get them out.
I love that way of putting it, like, because I talk all the time on the show about how when people that have a creative impulse, they get these ideas in their head, they're going to be stuck with those ideas, and they do become toxic until you do get them out, because it's like all you're kind of thinking about. And on top of that, it's sometimes you don't even know how you feel about something until you're able to kind of put it out into the universe like that. So I really love that idea. So did it take you a long time to kind of figure that out, like to get the kind of, I guess, courage and the gumption to put those kinds of ideas out of your head?
I think it's still a work in progress. It's still something that I'm trying to completely articulate. I don't think I'm ever going to get there. I think that I'm still trying to have that conversation with myself.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing. I think that you can never really quite reach the aha, the answer moment of figuring things out, because then it's just boring. So it's probably a good thing. Yeah,
I mean, there's still like there's still constant tropes, I guess, for lack of a better word, that show up in my brain. Like I'll be driving past a certain scene and certain landscape, and I'll see it in a certain way and go, oh, how do I capture that? Or a certain dream that keeps coming back, and I feel like I've never been able to totally capture it the way that it is in my mind. So I'm still trying to get there, and I don't know if I ever will. I think it might just be something that is cerebral for me to work on. I haven't found a finished product of that yet.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people can relate to that too. It's trying to get what's in your head out in that like kind of perfect way where it's just like, aha, that's what I envisioned. And I think when you can get that out, that's when people start to kind of resonate with it. Was it hard for you to like kind of start to put that stuff out there into the world to show other people and be like, this is what I'm thinking about? And then how long did it take people to kind of become a follower and to be like, hey, I think this too?
It's a weird way. Oh, I took a very strange path into putting my work out there. Originally, when I was in school, I was doing more sculpture work and was more interested in doing installation art. And I was putting that work out there. And as time went on, I was doing film work and spending a lot of time in the darkroom and shooting film. And I was at just the right age to be given a digital camera rather early. Mm-hmm. what happened was, because I was starting to move towards a digital medium and a digital camera, the reason I started putting that work out there was really because I needed a place to store it.
Nice.
As crazy as that seems, I was like, oh, this Flickr thing, this is a good place for me to just put all my finished work because it's taking up too much space on these floppy disks or on my hard drive. And then the extension of that was people then started to comment and people then started to follow my work. And I was like, oh, you guys care about this? I'm just putting this here. Just thanks. So it kind of just grew out of just a necessity.
No, that's so cool. Yeah, I think sometimes that might be an easier path for people to do, like to have it kind of like an accidental, like finding your audience and finding your kind of voice that way. Because I think it's one of the most terrifying things to, finally put what's in your head out there in the most like kind of genuine way, and then like kind of like bearing your soul to the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost convenient. I love it.
It was definitely convenient, and I think I'm lucky in a way because I never have that moment of seeking an audience. The audience found me, and I am so appreciative of them and so humbled that to this day people want to look at what I'm doing.
Yeah, well, like you said before, it's kind of like a form of self-therapy for you. So I'm sure that you would do it anyway. But do you think that, like, how long do you think it would have taken you to put it on, like, Instagram nowadays, had you not done it by accident? That's a good question. When I first started using Instagram, I was not posting any type of formal work on it. It was a lot of pictures of my cats. Mm-hmm. And this is the beautiful place where I'm hiking today. Mm-hmm. And people kept asking like, I don't want to go to your website. Will you post your work here and make it easier for me to see? So it did take me a while for me to go, okay, I guess I'll put it here. I was a little apprehensive about it just because I felt like the more places I was putting my work, the more watered down it seemed to me. I don't know. It doesn't totally make sense. But it took off from there. To this day, I'm flabbergasted that people care. Yeah. So it was more so like you didn't want to water down your work, which does make sense to me. Like it always feels weird, like publishing stuff in multiple, like there's so many different social media outlets that like
right.
you feel like you have to be a part of. And when you put stuff on everything, it kind of feels like, I don't know, like whoring yourself out for lack of...
It really does. It feels like I'm just putting myself out there not for content, and I don't want to be somebody that's just creating content. That's not what I'm doing. And there are a lot of people out there that do that. I feel like there's a push now to, everyone has to put what they're doing out there. You need to be present on all these platforms and post every day and do this every day. And I need to blog every day or whatever it is, whatever the medium is, to put it out there and be in people's face. And it's inundating both to the person that is creating it and to the people that you're asking to view it. And I never wanted that. Part of the problem with that for me, and specifically like a platform like Instagram, is it's limiting. Everyone's pictures are going to be the same size. For a long time, all your pictures had to be square. I'm not allowed to post certain types of nudity or whatever it is. So there's restrictions there. And that, to this day, is not something I love. And why I keep a website and why I put stuff in other places. And there's a lot of work that I just don't post online because it's not for everyone. It's also just for me. I'm real selfish sometimes.
No, it's okay to be selfish. And I want to go back to that, but yeah, just building on what you said, I agree that you need like a personal hub where you can just put whatever you want. And then it's like, the thing that stinks is like you said, like people saying, I don't feel like going to your website. I want to do this thing that I just open an app up and go on Instagram. And I get that. Like, it's just like kind of the convenience of it. But I think it is important to branch out and maybe pick one or two like social media things where you abide by their rules and
right.
put out stuff just so that, people have the opportunity to find you. Because not necessarily because you want to like promote yourself too much, but because there's people out there that want to see it that just have no way of finding it unless you were there.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. Was there ever a hesitancy for you to, like you said, you were just posting kind of your personal stuff, and that, it's your Instagram account was like an account of you as a person, not necessarily you as your like artist persona, because I think we all have different kind of personas that we use in life. Was there ever hesitancy then for you to kind of combine those two, like it would kind of dilute who you are as an artist and then who you are as a person? Absolutely.
And I think that separation of artist and individual, I'm watching that happen more and more. It happened to myself where I was like, all of a sudden I was like, well, now I can't post a picture of my cat on here because it's all this. It's
right.
turned into this curated, more of a gallery space. And I created another account. That's my personal account. And I watched a bunch of other artists that I'm friends with do the exact same thing. They watched that particular medium grow to be a curated space where they were like, oh, this is now about my work and not about me, which has its ups and has its downs. It's very strange. And to a degree, I don't mind it.
Yeah. Sometimes it's almost helpful. So do you find that, that you in your personal life then have maybe a hesitancy to like talk about your art to people? Because for me, it's a way different situation. But for me, like with podcasting, I get like nervous when like my friends ask me about it, or like if I'm at a party and like one of my wife's friends asks me about it, like I get like nervous talking about it. But at this point, I'm like very confident, like when I'm talking with other artists, other creative people on the microphone. But yet, whenever I'm trying to like talk to people who haven't heard it yet, I like feel like self-conscious and like, oh, they're not interested in this. Like, why would they be interested in a podcast about creativity? So like, do you ever find that like when you're not with your tribe, with your like people that are like following you and so into what you're saying, you not clam up, but like that you kind of are hesitant almost to talk about that?
Yes and no. I feel like I've had enough instances where I've been like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. The reason I do visual medium is because I'm not good at talking. I don't have the words at my disposal. It's why I'm visual. And that's happened to me so much that I really got it in my head that I needed to have basically what's like an elevator pitch. So I have kind of my elevator pitch of like, oh, you're interested in what I do. This is what it is. If you want to look at more of it, I keep business cards on me. This is my business card. I'll let my work speak for myself. But overall, yeah, talking about it just kind of openly and open crowds is not a place of comfort for me.
Yeah, that elevator pitch, we were actually just talking about it the other day with Kelly Killigan. Just talking about how sometimes the elevator pitch, when you're, like you said in the beginning, you work in different mediums and you have a lot of different themes and a lot of different things that you want to say with your art. It is tough to narrow it down into an elevator pitch because, by the time you're done explaining all the things that you're doing and that you want to do, the person's already like reached their floor and like gone on with their day. So yeah, it is tough to like kind of narrow it down to that elevator pitch, but I love that idea. You mentioned being selfish, which I think is an important thing in doing work that's just for you. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I think it's important to me to do work that I'm interested in. Otherwise I go crazy. And I've tried to do more commercial work or other people's projects. And I turn into a raging lunatic about it. everything I do and I become mean to everyone around me. I'm like, I don't like this. There's 20 other people that can do this better. Why did you ask me to do it? That's the headspace that I get into when I'm doing something that I don't feel passionately about. And because I feel like it's a distraction to me, because I have all these ideas that I want to work on. And if I'm not working on them, I'm not happy. So I do think that it's important to be selfish. Otherwise I feel like as an artist, you can lose sight of what your main goal was. I mean, it's good to push yourself outside of your little bubble, but if you're not trying to stay true to your original concepts, you end up back in that category of, your content.
Right.
There's so many people out there creating. Why are you doing it for them? Do it for you. If you don't care about it, who is?
I agree completely. Yeah, you have to stick with that core, and it's good to branch out, but like to always go back to that core, like the thing that kind of makes you gives you that nervous anticipation and that excitement that you can't wait to get back to doing whatever it is. And it's okay if that core kind of changes. You don't have to be all right, this is the thing I care about, so this is the thing that I'm always going to kind of go back to. It's okay if that kind of shifts, but just to always have that thing that you care about so much personally that you are just so excited and almost crave the time to get back to. I think it's really important. Otherwise it just feels like a job.
Mm-hmm. The idea of it being a job is horrible to me. The point where I have a lot of friends that are their goal is, to do art full time, or they are doing that. And I'm, maybe I relate a little bit to that whole concept of how Andy Kaufman always had a day job, even when he was super famous. I'm I want that. I don't want to just be reliant on this thing that makes me feel good. I don't want my art to be my job. And I want to be out in the public. I want to be interacting with other people in a way that's not artistic. It's a way for me to stay grounded.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's so important to have it be that. So let's talk about your work a little bit. And I'd say that your work, in a nutshell, is kind of, and you've said this too, is an attempt to kind of explore what it is to be a human being. So do you have an answer for that? What it is to be a human being?
I have a lot of hypotheses. But no answers. It's, for me, being human is being in touch with nature, being in touch with my own frailty and my fragility, and that being in touch then is empowering, knowing that death is on my shoulder, whispering in my ear, telling me to live at every second. That's maybe part of it for me. And that's why there's so many of my images that are in nature, calling on different folktale tropes, because I think folktales and folklore is also one of the best ways humans have come up with to try and explain the human condition. But I don't have a solid one answer for what that looks like, because I think it's going to be different for everyone. And I want my work to maybe inspire somebody, if they're going to look at it, to think about that. I don't know if they will, but
I think they definitely will. I like what you said about folklore too. I think that's, the original, it's the OG art. It's the OG, storytelling. That's just the way that, the only way that kind of, those lessons and creative stories were able to be told back then, and to this day. I think that's why we love, storytelling and folklore and learning lessons in that way. But I also love that idea of, death being on your shoulder. I think you even have an image that is very explicitly like that. It's a really morbid way to look at it, death always on your shoulder and whispering to you. But I think it's an important way to look at life, to see it as this, time is limited. Time is very limited. It's always kind of pressing down on you, and you need to use that time. And I think a lot of people forget about that, and hopefully people listening to this are inspired to go at the thing that's kind of always in your head, those ideas that are toxic, like you said, and exercising them like you do, to get them out there.
Absolutely. It is morbid, but you need it. We're so separated in modern day from nature, from our own mortality, that we feel inclined to put so many things off for later. Whether it's self-care, whether it's our family members, whether it's making that painting you wanted to make or writing that story you wanted to write, we put it off and we make up these reasons for why we're putting it off. And you can't. The only reason that you're ever going to put it off really is because you're dead. And
Yep.
you're not dead yet, so go do it.
Well, hopefully not.
Yeah. I mean, if you're listening to this, the chances are highly likely you're not dead.
Yay, and celebrate that. No, I totally agree. And yeah, we make up these excuses that sometimes we don't even realize that that we've made up this story that we've kind of, this folklore that we've told ourselves for 3 years. And we're like, oh my God, I've just been kind of, like we were talking about before too, like been mindlessly on my phone and just kind of, clicking through, and this whole, taking a picture of my dinner and posting that on Instagram because I think I need to, and put myself out there in the best way. Like all these things, these habits that we've created that are just sucking up all of our time. And I think you're totally right. We need to stop doing that and realize that, we don't have that much more time. We're not dead yet. So like, let's go. Let's get going.
Right. Like stop worrying about the outside forces. This is the thing that I hear from people that I talk to all the time, is that their biggest excuse to put it off for tomorrow is that they got bad feedback. They got one little tiny bad feedback, like, oh, the style in which you write, whatever, fill in the blank, or the style in which you paint, fill in the blank, whatever. They get one bad feedback, and that they like swallow that pill, and it becomes toxic and gross. And don't let that happen. That's part of why I think it's so important to create it for yourself. Like, not to be crass or crude, but like, screw them. If they don't like it, if they think it's X, Y, or Z, then they don't have to look at it. They don't have to read it. Big flippin' deal. Do it because it's going to make you feel better. Because I promise you it's going to make you sleep better at night.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, we talk about this on the show a lot too, how just that one negative comment, like you said, can be so toxic. It takes like 200 like positive comments to get you back on track sometimes, to be like, oh, okay. But like to try to limit that number and to try to forget about those people. I just got my first 1-star review on iTunes after like a year. I forget what it said. It was like, the theme song's annoying and it's just getting old hearing the people talk about the same thing. You got to pursue your dream. I'm like, what? but like, that's like that person's last word. Like, they're not going to listen anymore because they don't like it. So like, whatever, like they're gone. They're like already.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Yeah, see ya. But it is tough though, because then, even for me, even talking to so many creative people about the same type of thing, then when it hits you, it's still hard to kind of get over. But it's important to get over that. Like, you need to just like move on and remember those 180, 190 people that gave 5-star reviews that love it, and it's like impacting their lives in a positive way, and they resonate with it. And it's just, you got to remember those people, and that kind of pie chart gets just like a tiny little sliver, that negative.
Yeah.
So.
And remember that, and know, like, I always keep coming back to like, stop doing it for other people. Do it because you're curious about it. Do it because you're interested in it. Even if you don't show it to anyone and you do it and you stick it in a box underneath your bed, it's still there. It still passed through you and was cathartic. So I think that's really, really important to remember. As somebody, I didn't stay in art school very long, but I was there long enough to have my work severely critiqued and spend hours on things and have it ripped off a wall and torn into pieces and told to start again.
What? That happened?
That happened. And I think once that happens to you once and you get past that, like, oh, that was really harsh, but I see that grain of truth in there that's like pushing me forward. Okay, moving on.
Right.
You know, and you go, okay, I'll evaluate that. I'll keep that in my little Rolodex over here as a thing, but I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because it's, you know, and there's a difference between creative criticism and people that are just cold, horrible, mean trolls. But, you know, if it is that creative criticism, keep that in your Rolodex. Hang on to it. Be like, okay, that was a little harsh, but I'll remember that next time. But for the most part, you're not doing it for those people. Doing it for you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. It's finding it is not just ignoring the negative comments. Obviously, there's going to be just haters. There's going to be trolls. But to just take a second, evaluate what they said, and think about it critically. Like, take yourself out of your body almost and look above and see if they have a point or like a little bit of a seed of a point, and see if you need to shift in a way, and to almost take it as like a positive criticism, even if it's negative criticism. Can you tell that story about somebody literally ripping it off the wall and telling me to start again? It was my first year in art school, and it was a drawing class, and we basically had to draw a sheet for 3 weeks, and it was about shade and light and shadows and all that good stuff that you need to learn how to draw and understand. So drawing a sheet hanging on a wall was a good place to learn that. And I had very explicitly gone against the teacher's rules and used a medium. I was supposed to only be using charcoal and no white pencil. And I used white because I was like, it needs it. Like, in my mind, it needed it. And it was because I was being lazy. And he was like, no, you didn't follow the rules. I told you that you had to learn it this way and get all your shade and light from just using black tones and the medium of the paper. And he ripped it down off the wall and told me to start again. And I did. And my second edition of it came out great. And I took my time doing it. And that was the thing that I needed to learn. But that was also very harsh creative criticism. So if you can take the grain out of that horrible feeling and move forward, it's helpful. Absolutely. And yeah, I was going to say this before too. It's when you kind of go against the normal or go against the kind of the societal norm or what everybody else is doing, people won't get it a lot of times. And people, if they do give you negative comments or give you dislikes or whatever it may be, it does feel like somebody ripping it off and ripping it up in their own way. But the thing is about being a trendsetter, about being somebody that's against the norm, is the fact that you are going to get that, but you are also going to get this whole tribe of people that are like, oh my God, this new thing, you know, like, Absolutely. Yes, I've been waiting for somebody to like say what's on my mind, and I didn't realize that this is something that other people thought about. It's so important to do.
Absolutely. And that's why, you know, it's important to be selfish.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's you do have to be selfish and do it just from what you want to do. Before we get into like the final push, I was wondering, you get all these like with your photographs, you get all these like awesome like dresses and gowns and stuff. I was wondering how does that come to be?
There's a couple of different ways that happens. I am lucky enough to have, through my travels, run into some amazing people that their art is creating garments. And they are kind enough to let me use their garments in photo shoots. So it's a little bit of thank dog for the internet and connecting me with these people who are also creatives and creating garments for me to use. And a lot of it is me scouring the internet, scouring eBay or Etsy or what have you, for a very specific garment or piece, or having to find a pattern and sew it, because that's what's in my head.
Right.
So there's a little bit of that. Sometimes it's just dumb luck. I'll be, in a Goodwill and I'll be like, what? How did this beautiful thing get here? I have a purpose for you.
Right.
But one of the good things about the internet, and I don't have a laundry list of good things to say about the internet, but one of the few is that it has allowed me to connect with some amazing human beings that I don't think I would have met without it.
Absolutely. Yeah. The connectivity of the internet is one of the bad things and one of the good things. But certainly, it does have its perks. And when you are able to kind of have a presence and be doing something unique that kind of resonate, like you're looking for some, like it's like scratching each other's backs, So that's pretty cool. Do you have anything that like holds you back on a daily basis when you're trying to, actually get the work done?
Yes. There's actually quite a few things that hold me back. One of the hardest things is a lot of the stuff in my own head. And that one of those things is because I started doing my work without models and was using myself, I have a lot of doubt around that. And I've made, in the last couple years, a very conscious effort to not use myself in photos as often, because what happens in my head is I go, are you liking this for the creative aspect of it? Or are you liking it because it's a self-portrait? Because it's me. And I've always had this idea in my head where I don't necessarily want it to be about me. I've wanted my work to be about my work. So that is something that hangs me up a lot, where I try to use models that I know, that I have a relationship with, that I'm friends with, because that's more meaningful to me. I feel like there's a better rapport and a better dialogue. So that is definitely a constraint for me, is do I want to put myself in this photo and have it be my image? Or do I want to have someone else in the image? Or do I just not want to have a person in the image? So that is something that personally gets me kind of just tied up in knots. And the other thing that I really struggle with, and this is more new and I'm still trying to work it out, is, and I think probably a lot of people feel this way right now, is there's so many other people creating and doing what I'm doing. And I know that nothing I'm going to do is truly new. I'm inspired by things, obviously, but I see other work out there and I go, well, I almost put my hands up and go, well, I don't need to do it. This person's already done it.
Right.
And that's a horrible feeling. And that holds me back. I need to just push it out of my head. I need to remember my own words of, it doesn't matter if anyone else has done it. Do it because it's what you need to do, and you're going to do it in your own way. And it's obviously going to be different. And then I get caught up in the conversation of, oh, there's so many like copycat artists out there. And that's a huge thing. And I don't want anyone to think that I'm copying someone, because I'm not. So it's that weird, that's one of my biggest 2, 3, I don't know, my laundry list of hurdles that on a daily basis I'm like, get just kind of lodged in my brain. And I have to, take my imaginary sword and slice them all down and move past. And, my personality type is like, I'm just going to ignore it and muddle over it later. I'll worry about it later. I'm just going to ignore it and do what I'm going to do.
Yeah. No, I think that's the best advice. And make sure that your imaginary sword is like one of those like massive ones from Game of Thrones.
Oh, it's a claymore.
Just, like bust through it.
Okay, it's very specific. It's a 2-handed claymore. It takes out everything in its path.
No, I think a lot of people can resonate with both. Well, maybe not with the using yourself as a subject. I think that there's a interesting relationship that happens between the artist and the subject. But when you're both, it can sometimes, like, I guess, confuse things, which, I think you kind of eloquently put. But also, like, the idea of seeing something that you like had in your mind, I think comes up a lot. You see somebody else do it, and it's almost like a excuse to not do it yourself. And I wrote this down, and you said it as well. Like, but they didn't do it the way that you're gonna do it. And I think it's really important to do it your own way anyway. And like Austin Kleon talks about in Steal Like an Artist, you know, just everything's been done before anyway. So just like, you got to do it in your own kind of voice, and in the different things that have come to inspire you throughout your life, and put that all together and do it in your own unique way. And it's funny though, because I agree that sometimes you can look at it from one end where, oh, this person's already done this, I don't have to do it. But then also looking at the other way, where if you've done something and somebody's doing something similar, it's like copycat, like, you know,
yeah,
it's like this like endless cycle. But I think it is, the most important thing is to actually create it yourself. And like you said, who cares?
Yeah. But that second part is hard for me.
Which, the copycat part?
Yeah, that part is hard for me. And I try to remember that, you know, like everybody starts out somewhere, and I know where I started. I was like, oh, I really like the Starn Brothers. I'm going to do that, you know? And I think it's important, you know, a lot of times I try to, if it's a blatant copy, and I have seen blatant copies of not just my work, but of friends' work, I'll say something, and it'll be very kind, and I'll be like, can you at least say that you were inspired by this?
Right. Give credit.
You know, can you give credit? But otherwise, we're such a hive mind now that it's not always on purpose that things are bubbling up in this way, where we're kind of all on the same trope, or there seems to be somebody taking the same photo as me. I try to reach out and be like, hey, I really like what you're doing, and I hope that you keep doing it, and I can't wait to see where you go with it, because I was there. I'm interested to see where your path is going to take you. That's something I'm trying to be more active about personally. Right. Is to not be bitter and cranky and horrible about it.
Absolutely. It's not like ripping it off the wall. It's like kind of like peeling the edge off and being like, hey, like, this is great, but no, but I think that especially when people are, like you said, starting out, there's that huge gap. And I think that when you're inspired by somebody, you want to learn by not copying, but really like trying to do basically the same thing. And the more and more that you do that, and I think it is an important practice to do that, to kind of do the same type of things that you're inspired by. And then the more and more that you do that, then you start to figure out your own voice and figure out like kind of your own type of path that you're going on. So it's hard though. It's a hard balance to figure out, no matter where you are along that kind of, you know, timeline.
Absolutely.
Speaking of time, we are just about out of time, so it is time for the final push. And this is where I ask you to reach to the microphone and grab the shoulder of one of the listeners that you've already really inspired today, and just give them your best words of advice and really push them to finally pursue that creative passion.
Oh, that's not stressful.
Sorry, I know, everybody's stressed out. It's cool.
Just don't hesitate. Don't feel like you need to put it off. There are so many things that you are doing in your life that you don't need to be doing. Doesn't matter. You don't need to watch that TV show. You don't need to cook a grand meal. Eat something small. Whatever it is, whatever all those other things are that are in your way, give them up for a day. Focus on the thing that's going to make you feel good, because your spiritual self and your creative self is just as important as relaxing, as eating, as making money, as taking care of your kids, as taking care of your health. It's part of your health. It's part of what's going to make you feel good. Don't worry about what the outcome is going to be. Worry about the process. Worry about all the little avenues to get you to doing it. Don't worry about the outcome. I know I already said that, but it's really, really important, because that outcome is going to hold you back. You just have to make time to do it. If it's important to you, you will make time for it.
I agree completely. Yeah. In a good way is to kind of track your week. Like, pick a week and track it, and just write down, like, honestly, how much time you spend doing everything. Just, like, keep a diary of your time, and see how much time is wasted by doing those things, like, watching too much TV, or cooking too much, or doing nothing, like just being on your phone, just scrolling through Instagram and YouTube, and just finding the next distraction.
Sending stuff to Pinterest.
Stop the Pinterest.
Put your phone away.
Yeah. I think it is important to unplug, and I think your best advice, don't worry about that outcome, and don't hesitate. Just get to it. Don't find a new distraction. Just start doing the thing that's on your brain, to get it out there, to exercise those, not demons, but exercise those things that are rolling around in your head that you just keep pushing off. I think it's the best advice ever.
Get it out.
Courtney, thank you so much for coming on the show today and for giving us that push.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And you can find Courtney on her website, which is lightwitch.com, L-I-G-H-T, witch.com. On Instagram, she is light_witch. And you can find everything we talked about today at yourcreativepush.com/Courtney Brooke. Courtney, thanks again.
Thank you. Bye now.
I thank you again to Courtney for coming on the show. I love this idea of toxic things that we talked about. And I think that there's two really important types of toxic things. The first being those ideas that start out in your brain as fresh, but the more and more they kind of stew around there, the more toxic they become, because they need to get out into the world. They need to come out of you. Otherwise, they will just eat away at your brain, at your heart, at your soul, the more they're up there. And the same goes for the way that you feel about things, because sometimes you don't really know how you feel about a certain thing until you're able to get it out. And oftentimes as well, getting them out with your creative passion is a way to figure that out, but to also feel that joy that you can get from actually being able to successfully articulate the way that you feel about something when you're able to get it out there. It's a rare thing, but when it can happen, when you're able to get it out there in the most genuine way, it's an amazing feeling. And the other toxic thing is that negative feedback that Courtney was talking about, and how for so many people, myself included, that one negative comment is the thing that seems to stop you in your tracks, to stop all of us in our tracks, because we don't just observe, that comment for what it is and kind of put it aside. We like to smash it up into a pill and swallow it. And that's the worst thing that you can do, is to keep that inside of you. It's so much better, like Courtney was talking about, to see if there's any types of truth in there, to see if there's a grain of truth that you can take from it, and then just let it go. And that's, again, why it's so important for you to do work for you and for you alone. Do the things that you want to do, not what other people want you to do, and to kind of forget about all those other people. Like Courtney said, and I'm quoting here, stop doing it for other people. Do it because you're curious about it. Do it because you're interested in it. Even if you don't show it to anyone and stick it in a box underneath your bed, it's still there, it still passed through you, and it was cathartic. And amongst all the really great words of advice that she gave in this episode, I think that this was the best quote, because it's so true to do it for yourself, to let it pass through you, to not let it get stuck in your head and stew around, to not let anything hold that back from getting it out, and to not worry about where it's going to end up. It's just about the act of doing it, and doing it for yourself and yourself alone. So thank you again to Courtney for coming on the show. Hopefully you were inspired today to go and get your work done. So go and get it done, and we will be here for you on Thursday with a fresh new episode if you need that push again. Thank you so much for listening. I love you all, and we will see you next time. Bye. Never miss a push. Head to yourcreativepush.com/subscribe to find the easiest way for you to subscribe to the podcast.